Good morning. It's June 13th, Sunday morning. I'm going to walk around the lake today because I didn't do it on Friday, and I like to do it once a week. There'll be more people around the lake on a weekend, which I don't particularly like because, even though I went into theater, I'm not a huge fan of people looking at me weirdly, but all the same, it's a beautiful morning and I want to go around the lake, so that's what I'm going to do. It's also my daughter's 20th birthday today, so happy birthday to her. And we're going out for brunch at 11:30 this morning, and then we're going out for dinner tonight, so she's getting a well-celebrated birthday. We're going to go to Sky Bistro, which I highly recommend here in Regina. It's attached to the Saskatchewan Science Centre, my old stomping grounds. There's been many restaurants in there over the years. Sky is one of the best, if not the best, that's been in there. It's run by a chef named Milton Robello. And his wife. Now, whether we can go through the underpass or not, I don't know. After all that rain on Friday, we'll take a look. It could be flooded. Or maybe I'll just use the crosswalk. If you're there on YouTube or Facebook, say hello. I will respond if I can see. Depends on what the sun's doing at any given moment, which direction it's facing. See, it's another lovely spring morning. Morning. One thing I did this weekend was follow up with a couple of my authors for the anthology I've kickstarted, featuring science fiction fantasy by authors who were guests during the second year of my Aurora award-winning podcast, The World Shapers, www.theworldshapers.com. And I got the story from Steve Sterling, S.M. Sterling, who is providing a reprint. So I'm very excited about that. This person turning? No. I'll go over here. So we'll check out the underpass, but I really suspect it's impassable. But maybe not. It has been a couple of days. It might have drained by now. Don't really know where the water goes when it's down there. There must be a drain somewhere. Yeah, as long as I'm walking east, I may not see any comments if anybody says hi, but I'll do my best. I think this is the first time I've walked around the lake wearing the new lapel mic with better sound, so there's that. Also, I think the gardens should be in at the legislative building when we get there, so. Your church bells ringing. It is Sunday. Well, they don't have it blocked off, so let's go down and take a look. If there's not a puddle here, there could be one when you come up the other side. I've run into that before. It's just a little damp. Certainly not blocked. The graffiti is in full blossom. There's a little layer of mud on the floor down here. I couldn't Couldn't see that, so it's a little slippery. Whoa. No, I didn't expect that. Well, going back, I won't go that way. Let's get rid of some of the mud. Very muddy down there.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Very, very slick too.
nice.
Okay, here's the lake. Wascana Lake, for those joining me for the first time. That's the Saskatchewan Legislative Building over there. Through the trees. Oh, the aeration fountain is not running at the moment. Wonder why. Or am I just not seeing it? Oh, it's just a little further. Okay. I just misplaced it. Way off in the distance is another fountain you might see sticking up. Probably not with the wide angle, but here we go. Saskatchewan Legislative Building. The Albert Street Bridge, we just came under. Completely artificial lake created by the dam under the bridge back there on Wascana Creek. Been here a long, long time. I mean, it was here when they built the legislative building, and that was in 1911, 12, thereabouts. So yeah, the fountain there is to keep air in the water for the fish, so they can happily breathe. Pretty in the sun. Sometimes when the wind's blowing, it sprays you over here on the path, but not today. So as I pointed out before, for new folks, none of these trees are really natural. They were all planted. Like every other tree in Regina, pretty much, except for a few that have, sprouted up since other trees were planted. But originally there were no trees here. This was just barren prairie when people started settling here. Apparently it's joggers morning. That's a gazebo that I've performed at and attended a wedding at. Way over there is Roberts Plaza. I was down by it a couple of times this last week, walking over in that area. Yesterday I had people joining me as soon as I started this, and today nobody so far. There's already lots of cars in front of the legislative building. So I normally do this on Friday, and I will again this coming Friday, weather permitting. See some geese there. There are always geese. And again, I always say this, but that island over there is Willow Island. And at the end of my books, The Shards of Excalibur, Excalibur ends up in the lake, just this side of that island. So you might want to get a diving team together and come look for it. The whole series starts just down here on the other end, the north end of Willow Island, which we will get to momentarily. when the Lady of the Lake from King Arthur shows up in Wascana Lake, everybody's got to be somewhere, and tells this local girl that she's now the Lady of the Lake, the heir to the power of the Lady of the Lake if she'll accept it. And the Lady of the Lake needs her and this younger boy who happens to come by while she's talking to the Lady of the Lake down in a chamber under the water. I'll show you where that is in a minute. And tells them that they have to find the scattered shards of Arthur's sword Excalibur from all over the planet before Merlin can. He's the bad guy in my series, and he has a modern day disguise as Rex Major, a kind of computer magnate, like a Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. And that's the premise. And the books take you all over the world. It's definitely jogger morning here. But it all starts right here at the north end of Willow Island in Wascana Lake. And in the first book, we'll see the first shard is up in the Northwest Territories. It's at a diamond mine. The second shard is in France, in a cave with cave paintings, southern France. And the third shard is in New Zealand, in a lake high up in the New Zealand mountains, Lord of the Rings territory. And the fourth shard is in a cave beneath the sea in the Caribbean. And the fifth shard, well, I won't tell you where it is because that's the big surprise, except to say they end up back in Saskatchewan. Probably not a spoiler to say they do successfully, by the end, gather all the shards of Excalibur and reforge the sword. And then at the very end, Ariane, who's the Lady of the Lake after all, throws it into Wascana Lake, where I showed you on the west side of Willow Island. Shards of Excalibur, available everywhere in ebook. Less available in print because the print publisher, Kato Books, went out of business. So I'm publishing it now with the Shadowpaw Press. And I have not done the work to create new print editions. No, I will soon. First I have to finish The Tangled Stars, and then I can think about other things for a bit. Oh, then I have to write book 4 of World Shaper as my next fiction project. My World Shaper series, of which there are 3 so far. World Shaper, Master of the World, and the Moonlit World. There we go. So the Lady of the Lake shows up right there. There's a staircase going down into a chamber under the water. And the lady herself is made of water. A watery sculpture of a lady, you might say. All the adventures start right there. This is why I don't like walking around the lake on the weekend, because there's just so many people. But just because I didn't get to do it on Friday because of the heavy rain, I decided I'd do it today. You can find me walking in the rain Friday if you look on my channel under an umbrella. So nobody has said hi yet this morning, so if you're there, let me know, say hi. At least the connection seems to stay stable so far. Patches of almost mud Oh, spoke too soon. Just got unstable internet connection right after I said that it stayed stable so far. I lost the feed along here one day, so I'll try to keep an eye on it, make sure that it doesn't happen this time. The thing is around here that since the sun's up around, I don't know, at least by 4:30 now, you can get out pretty early. So this is actually quite late at 9 o'clock in the morning. There's the ledge over there, Saskatchewan Legislative Building. Nice breeze blowing off of the water because I'm quite warm already. I haven't seen anything that says YouTube has gone down, so I hope it's still up. But it doesn't seem like anybody's watching live today anyway. At least nobody that wants to comment. Not even some of my regulars. Subscriber numbers are slowly going up. When I started all this, I only had about 40 some, and it's up to 70 some, so. People are finding it, but it does get watched more as a replay than the live stream. But we'll definitely go down to the right here, down by the other aeration fountain. So as I mentioned, tomorrow I'm taking the car, one of the cars, to in for service. And while they're working on it, I'm going to walk down even further south than I did yesterday. Yesterday I started at 25th and ended up down by Gordon Road, if you're checking it out on the Google Maps. Tomorrow I'll start at the Albert and Gordon, basically, and walk along Gordon and south into that neighborhood while they're doing the car. Usually I take my computer across the street to the Starbucks and the Save On Foods across the street. There's the ledge, and those buoys are lane markers for rowing, that sort of thing. And then here's the other aeration fountain. Little footbridge. Always pretty with the sun on it. I've used that as my thumbnail before though, so I'll have to find something else today. Here's a good look at the whole lake. Downtown, kind of behind the tree over there. Oof. Actually, just to be different, I'll walk around the little pond here. Like, 24 views of Mount Fuji, only it's multiple views of the aeration fountain in Wascana Lake. almost the same thing. Now you can see it from the other direction. With the legislative building behind it. And we'll take the steps up. This will be scenic overlook, but I've already scenically overlooked, so I don't think I'll bother with that. And straight ahead of us is Wascana Center. Was it last weekend when I walked out to Douglas Park? I started in one of their parking lots. But today we will continue circumnavigating the lake. Skateboarding and wearing a mask, that's just so stupid. Even if masks work, they're not terribly effective. They certainly don't do anything outdoors to speak of, and especially if you're not all by yourself. On rollerblades, I said skateboards, but he was on a rollerblade. That's why they've become almost a badge of some sort that people wear. I don't understand it, but I guess it makes them feel better somehow about themselves. Okay, so this is a couple of things, but there's a restaurant here called Bar Willow with a wonderful deck that overlooks the lake. And this is where we're having my daughter's 20th birthday dinner tonight. We'll be on the deck out here. The weather looks good. I'm going around to the left because you can't go to the right, but the deck is right around the corner there with the view out over the lake. I'm just walking here to make it more interesting. It's a takeout window there too. Lake Taco, they call it. There's something called the Great Saskatchewan Mustard Festival, which has been held here, and it's all dishes from local restaurants that feature mustard. That's been held on that deck as well. Come on, internet, stay focused. Is there anybody out there watching today on Facebook or YouTube? Just say hi so I know you're there. I'm so lonely. Boat ramp. People. another footbridge. And up here, if you want, you can turn to the left and go under Broad Street to I think it's still Broad Street there, or Wascana Parkway. And continue on down to the university and beyond. I've walked out there a couple of times. Only along the path on the other side of the bridge here once, so that's another one I will repeat one of these days. There's the lake, Pine Island with the waterfall on it. That's another aeration feature. Now, it'll be interesting to see if this footbridge, this underpass, if the walkway's underwater. If it's not now, I'll bet you it was during the rain. No, I don't think it is now. Too much. There's some water under there. I guarantee it was flooded when we had the big rainstorm on Friday. As were many streets in Regina. We have a friend whose basement flooded quite badly. More joggers coming. First or second time I walked around the lake when it was still frozen and wintry on a Friday morning, I had it all to myself. I didn't see a single other person. Not today. I wonder if the YouTube feed actually went down. It has happened before and I've missed it. So if you're there, say hi. And if you're on Facebook, say hi. Don't want to sound terribly needy, but I'm terribly needy. I'll walk around Pine Island. It's always fun to go under the waterfall. Across the footbridge there. It's Pine Island. So named because it's planted with, wait for it, pines. Flock of geese. Quite a lot of them there. Walk up here, which I haven't usually done. Get another view of the lake. Looks much the same as my other views of the lake. And if you go over here, you end up right above the waterfall. So, once more, the lake. You can hear the water from the waterfall down there. Actually, it's hard to tell from here, but that's actually the lip of the waterfall. If you see how the texture of the water changes, that's actually the lip of the waterfall. We'll go down the dirt here. If I'm careful, I shouldn't kill myself. I haven't made my joke for a while. If I fall on one of these videos, it'll be ideal for faceplant as opposed to Facebook. Or maybe Tumblr. Ba-dum-bum. How wet is it under here today? Pretty wet. I don't think I want to get wet, so we'll just look at it from here. I'll get my feet wet, and they got wet enough on Friday. We'll go back this way because we didn't walk along this path when we came anyway. Umbrellas are all very well, but your feet always get soaked because every time you take a step, they extend out in front of the umbrella. Not to mention puddles and things, of course. Excuse me, goose. Yes, sorry. This is a multi-use pathway used by people and geese. Back across the bridge. Geese are still there. Well, I sure thought somebody would find me this morning and say hi. So again, I wonder if the YouTube feed is down. But I just don't know it. I worry about such things. I don't know why. Like I said, it'll be up as a recording in a few hours, and that's when most people find it anyway. I have been deleting the live ones. I may leave the live ones up and post a recording from now on, just because it gives me a better count of how many people have actually viewed it.
Like I remember when I was little, my grandma, like
phone saying that someone called me, right? Yeah. So my mom's mom, they got a phone there. So what it was like, the whole lane only they had the phone. So everybody is
Teenage geese there. They're mostly in their gangly adolescent phase now. They don't have a lot of time. They have to be ready to fly south come fall, and fall's not far away. It's already June. Still spring. It won't be summer for another week. Unstable internet connection. Stop that. Actually, don't stop it. Improve it. There. Hey, listen to me. So I mentioned I got S.M. Sterling's short story for the anthology. Tim Pratt is another one. It says his will be along before the end of the month, which is kind of the deadline. Who else do I still have to come? There's only a couple more that I don't have yet, so almost all of them, and then comes the editing and deciding on the order, writing the foreword, designing the cover. Front cover is done, but I have to the back cover. If I do a hardcover, that's a second, slightly different cover because of the way binding affects the artwork. Proofreading. Everybody gets to proof their story. The contract asks for them to get it back in a week. And then publication. First, the Kickstarter version, because there's 200 and some backers, and something, I think it's under 100, but still a substantial number, back to the level where they get a copy of the paperback, trade paperback. And I used a company called Copywell last year, which was very successful. They did a great print job, but they also do the distribution, so I just provide them with a mailing list, and they look after the putting it into cardboard mailers and sending it out. Ooh, I can really smell those. So I'm going to use them again. But I think this year, I think I'm going to stick with my print-on-demand model and see how that works for sales. Last year, I went to all the work to get a Creative Saskatchewan grant and printed 1,000 copies, but I had to piggyback on Radiant Press, which is a up-and-coming. Oh, good, there's somebody on YouTube. I must be up. Hi, Aslov. For distribution, I didn't like the loss of control. So I'll probably do this one print on demand, and then I can compare for next year when I expect to do Volume 3. So we're walking around the lake today, Wascana Lake. Hoping the connection stays up. So far it has, although it has given me that unstable warning a few times, like right now. It's the guy I saw before. Rollerblading, but wearing a mask. Hi, Theodore. It has to be a hot, moist, sweaty mask, which also makes no sense from a being healthy point of view. About 2/3 of the way down the walk, I think, today, around the lake, which is over there. Doing this because I couldn't do it on Friday because of the heavy rain. That's why you need a bicycle bell. That's the monument to the Stalin's genocide of the Ukrainians. We have a lot of Ukrainian people here. Tennis courts over there. Home and a cool off before we go out for brunch at 11:30 for my daughter's 20th birthday at Sky Bistro in the Saskatchewan Science Centre, which is also on the lake, but not on this part of the lake. And of course, the Saskatchewan Science Centre was where I worked when I first came to Regina as communications officer for 5 years. Then I quit, became a full-time writer / occasional performer. Me feeling? No, I've had not the slightest side effect from my second shot. Except my arm was sore, but you stick a needle in it, it tends to do that. Instead of walking down there, I'm going to go by the legislative building today because we go up on the steps, if I can. Should get a nice view of the gardens. The Trafalgar Fountain is not fountaining. Wonder why it's off. So that was a fountain that it stood in Trafalgar Square in London at one time. Came here in 1939, as I mentioned before. Ooh, slippery where there was a little bit of dirt turned to mud there. Hi, Kirk. People are finding me this morning. Took you long enough. I've been walking for 45 minutes. Well, have I? Yeah, almost exactly. 45 minutes. Saskatchewan Legislative Building. The East Wing, I guess this is. It's called the Marble Palace. Has a nickname. A lot of marble inside it. Tyndall stone on the outside. And when I wrote my book Magebane, which I've mentioned before, which it kind of uses the lake surroundings as a setting, and Saskatchewan in general. The king lives in the Marble Palace, a marble palace on the south side of a lake, just like this marble palace, only probably doesn't look like that. And in that book, there's a magical barrier around essentially Saskatchewan. Well, not really, because it's round, but anyway. But there's another magical barrier over the palace and its surroundings, which makes it always spring, or always summer, I guess, under the barrier, this magical dome. And as I said, that's a bit of wish fulfillment, I guess, because I looked at a map and figured out that if that dome, where it was always summer, actually existed, our house would be under it too. So there's this scene where the prince is swimming in the lake, and on the other side of this magical barrier, it's 40 below, and an ordinary commoner comes trudging through the snow and stares at him. So that's a pretty good metaphor for class divide, I think, because it is a story of the ruling class and the ruling mage lords and the ordinary people. Here's the front and the dome, which, as I've mentioned a few times, a few years ago they redid that inside and out to make it last another 100 years. And it had fresh copper on the outside of that dome, which meant that we had a shiny copper dome up there for a while until it tarnished again. We'll go up the steps here and take a look down at the gardens, and we'll walk through the gardens. Saskatchewan Legislative and Executive Building, erected AD 1908-1911. The stone was laid by His Excellence Earl Grey, Governor General of Canada, on October 4th, 1909. And then over here we have Their Majesties King George VI and Queen Elizabeth visited this building on May 25th, 1939, just before the Second World War broke out. Okay, yeah, the gardens are in, but clearly a lot of growing to do on those flowers. So as we continue to walk down here each Friday, except when it turns out to be on a Sunday like this week, you can watch those flowers develop, because it's quite a beautiful garden once everything has fully matured. And of course the horse statue, the equestrian statue, is Queen Elizabeth, the current one, on her one of her favorite horses, which was a Canadian horse. And she dedicated that in 2005 on a visit here, which is when I got pretty close to her, because my daughter had flowers and we got a good spot, and my daughter was able to give her flowers and I was able to get a picture of her from like 4 feet away, which was cool. You can see it's a lovely garden, but it's just beginning to flower. We were standing right about here when I met the Queen. And that little girl who gave her flowers is now 20 years old. She was only 3 on that day. So here's the gardens. You can see they've been planted, but still got some growing to do. So they got well watered on Friday. The other gardens I want to take you to, whoever's watching, are the Edwardian Gardens at Government House. So I'll get over there. They'll be like this though, they still won't be fully flowered out. So I might wait a while, so when I hit them they're at their peak. well, if there's any particular reason I couldn't take a camera into Government House and the museum part, walk around. Same with the RCMP museum, but it's something I would want to ask first rather than showing up, doing a live stream and discover I can't. Okay. Actually, I'll go this way. String it out just a little bit further and walk down the creek on the other side of the bridge. The spillway was enthusiastically spilling after the heavy rain, so we can get a view of it if I go this way. Anyway, that's the Albert Street Bridge, and it's also the dam that forms the lake on Wascana Creek. So, I often mention that songs run through my head when I'm walking. Today, it's the Muppet Show theme. It's time to raise the curtain. It's time to light the lights. It's time to get things started on the most sensational, inspirational, Muppetational, something national. This is what we call the Muppet Show. Because we've been watching it on Disney Plus. I remember it well from when I was a teenager. But Alice, who loves the Muppets, hasn't seen those old shows. So we often have to explain who the guest star is, though. Like Rich Little, famous and Canadian impersonator. He was everywhere. I think he had his own TV show. He was a guest and she didn't know who he was or recognize his impersonations. Oh, we just caught this light if we move it. Regina Avenue. So we'll go down this side of the bridge. There'll be lots of people on this path too, I'm sure. Or like the one we watched, this last one we watched was Nancy Walker. Well, she was, on Rhoda and all these big TV shows. And she'd been on Broadway at one point. But Alice had never heard of her. Fame is fleeting. Sic transit gloria mundi. Oh, the pelicans are out. Cool. Glad I came this way. Pelicans need fish. And the deepening of the lake meant that pelicans started coming here regularly because now we have more fish and they overwinter. And they're probably catching them as they come off the spillway there. We get a little closer to the spillway here. And you see the pelicans. What flags? Currently it's Pride Month, so they're all related to that. Like the rainbow flag. I don't even know. And then there's the city flag in between up there. I don't know what all the symbols mean, I'm afraid. Oh, look at that lovely green on the duck there. You can see whatever he's standing on, the water is not deep right there because there's a pelican standing on it. All right, well, we will move on. But I came this way so we could see the pelicans. I'm sure I saw them better than you because, again, the camera angle, even though it's not set in the wide angle mode, is still quite wide angle. And so things that look quite close to me are quite small in the image. Although if you're watching it on a big screen TV, I suppose you might see it not too bad. So this will take us back to the familiar footbridge. Oh, and the unstable internet connection. Oh, nice parkland over here. Really flood control land. Post-spring melt. I have seen this all covered in water. You can see how far down the creek is, so it can be much higher than that. And that's why there's the dike on the other side that I often walk along. Oh, the pelican with the broken wing. I don't know. They never responded to my message, but somebody else had messaged them too. So I really don't know what happened to that bird. Don't know if it had a broken wing. It did kind of look that way. Not a cloud in the sky. Well, okay. There's a tiny wisp of cloud up there, so I can't really say there's not a cloud in the sky. Hardly a cloud in the sky. There'll be more as the day goes on, just from daytime heating with all of the moisture around. I'm sure we'll see clouds forming as the day goes on, but hopefully when we're out on the deck by the lake for Alice's birthday dinner tonight, it's still as nice as this, or nicer. I think the unstable internet connection down this way has to do with the leaves. See, here I am in the open, and that went away. I'll see if it comes back when I get behind more trees. Hopefully not. If the leaves are going to cause a problem, this is a pretty tunnely bit here. Yep, sure enough. Internet connection is unstable when I went into that sort of tunnel of leaves. Yeah, so in that real tunnely bit there, it was more unstable. That seems to be it, or at least part of it. I hear voices from the creek side of my walk, which is interesting. There's somebody on the water. I guess I'll see when I get to the footbridge. All right, well, if it's the leaves, it should improve as I come out here from that tunnel of leaves. Or not. Oh, yeah, there, it did. So, yeah, I'd say the leaves have a lot to do with it. in the street when I get on the other side instead of on the dike. There's the creek again. Oh look, but there it goes. Slightly unstable again. That way. Okay, say goodbye to the creek for this morning and the lake. I'll go down into the streets now. How's that same people up ahead of me with the baby carriage that I followed from I passed twice. Once when I first started around the lake and once about 2/3 of the way around. And watching that house get built as I do these walks, because I always see it if I come off the bridge this way. Looks like the mud has dried up some. I think I'll walk all the way up to Leopold Crescent today along here. We'll go this way, it's more scenic with these low trees. And the big disposal bin. Okay, maybe that's not that scenic, but... Oh, well, perhaps they're hanging just a little too low here. What about the alley? Let's take the alley. Besides, I wanted to see the back of this very strange house. It's a very strange, ultra-modern house. See how the windows are sort of these triangles that are indented in the side. It's very unfriendly from the front. It's just a white block. It has a nice garden here, though. So, yeah, it's a very odd house. I don't know who designed it. Clearly an architect's special. Love to see inside it. I wonder if they've ever been asked to be on the Davin School home tour. That's something they do for a fundraiser for, well, now it's the Crescent School. Something they do for a fundraiser where people open up their homes and people tour through them on a Saturday. With volunteers, of course, in every house to keep an eye on things. There's never been a problem. My wife was involved with it for a long time, so as a volunteer when our daughter was still in elementary school. Tree is not split by lightning, though it might look like that. It has to be trimmed because of the power line. Although it looks like a branch came down in this last windstorm there. Yeah, I'd say so. Yep. Dogs always notice you. Oh, you get a good view of the... Oh, what the heck? They're doing some serious work on this row house here. Wow. That kind of spoils the look. I wonder if it's... Presumably it's being restored. Pretty sure this is a heritage building. I knew they'd been doing work here, but I hadn't seen exactly what, so that's pretty major there. Ooh. Well, I certainly gotten some exercise. I can tell that as I walk in the sun and realize how warm I am. Leopold Crescent here. Oh, more notes. More notes. No internet under the dome. Well, there certainly wasn't in my book, in the magical dome. Okay, well, just another block or so here. This will be different. Nah, that's boring. We'll stay on the back Crescent. I should probably mow grass again today. All that rain has made it grow. Our grass is pretty ugly and patchy. That needs to be replaced, but it still looks better when it's mowed. One more block. To the traditional stop sign. Stop sign, stop. Really beautiful day. We have a lot of them. Saskatchewan has, I think it's the sunniest province in at least southern Saskatchewan. It's like the sunniest place in Canada for the number of days of sunshine. It's one of the virtues of being so far inland. And no large bodies of water anywhere nearby. Okay. Thank you for walking with me today around the lake, and I'll be back tomorrow. Be walking around southern end of town. Bye for now.